I was 20 years old when it happened. You know, that moment when my life just shattered. And I just felt like I was surrounded by this thick, heavy, dark fog. Grief just took over my mind and my heart, and I felt like I was suffocating in this cloud. It was heavy and it was disorienting. A kind of pain that makes it hard to breathe in is the one that I felt that I had fallen into. And I remember the unbelief, the hope that maybe it wasn't true. Maybe she'll wake up. Maybe I will wake up from the dream. The way my heart just kept reaching for something solid just to find more emptiness. My father kept preparing me for that moment, but nobody can prepare me for the aftermath, for that silence, for that hollow space inside your chest, that emptiness that you feel, or just not feel anything at all. And I would wake up every morning feeling like something in me had been carved out. I think it was more like ripped out. And for the first few weeks and maybe longer, those loving condolences that everybody wanted to share with me, they just felt just as hollow as my heart, really. And the worst thing is that I knew that God had been faithful this whole entire time with us, with my mother. I know that He loved us. I know that He was there, but I just couldn't see Him. I struggled even feeling Him. I had just been consumed by grief to the point that all those miracles, all those blessings, they felt like distant memories to me. And how many of you have been or are going through that right now at this moment, or have been in a moment like that, where pain becomes so loud it drowns out everything else? It suffocates you to the point that nothing else can be felt, seen, not even hope. And even the miracles that might be happening right in front of you, well, you're just too lost in the pain and in the darkness to see them. And Mary Magdalene knew that feeling. Join me in this next episode as we walk with Mary Magdalene in her grief, in her confusion, and in the moment when everything changes. Welcome to Becoming, a real-life journey into wholeness, where we explore the ongoing transformation of our spiritual formation. And last time we stepped into the garden with Jesus. We learned about what it means to become surrendered. We learned what it means and what it felt like to give our hearts to God and put ourselves in the Father's presence and saying, not my will, but yours. Today we move into the next step of becoming. Our becoming journey continues with becoming victorious, where resurrection meets our grief and new life calls us by name. This is Mary Magdalene's story. Before we go on, take a moment to like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell. Your engagement helps this ministry reach others who are walking through their very own becoming journey. This ministry is still new, so we do not have any capability to monetize through this channel. If you would like to support this ministry, consider a small donation through the QR codes shown throughout the video. Your support helps me continue creating, continue writing these devotionals and studies as we walk together in our becoming journey with Christ. Now, let's return back to Mary Magdalene, whom we will call Maggie from now on in today's episode, since we've already had Mary in the previous episodes, and not to get them confused. I also want to add a disclaimer. Yes, she was not the only one at the tomb that morning. She was not alone. Other women were there too with her. But we will be focusing on the story of Mary Magdalene through the eyes of John in chapter 20. John tells us that Maggie came to the tomb while it was still dark. This darkness she walked through, it was the same darkness that she felt inside. She had experienced life when Jesus delivered her. She had lived her own victory moment. She had seen Jesus' miracles. She watched him restore others. She had even watched him call Lazarus out of the tomb. She understood and had seen the power of Jesus. But grief has a way of erasing or blinding us. Doesn't allow us to see what causes faith or what gives us faith or even grow it. On this resurrection morning, Maggie wasn't expecting victory at all. She was not expecting for hope or a miracle. In fact, all she was expecting was death. Her heart felt hollowed out. Her mind was swallowed by a thick fog of pain and agony. Her spirit felt crushed under that weight of her grief, and sometimes so are we. We come to God carrying all this trauma and unanswered questions and pain and the weight of what we have lost. We forget those Lazarus moments in our lives. We forget those miracles, those blessings that we have seen. And sometimes we just forget Jesus' promises altogether. We start believing they were meant for others, never for us. We allow the darkness of our pain to hollow out the hope from our hearts. Have you ever walked into a situation expecting disappointment because grief convinced you nothing could ever happen that is good out of it? Have you ever prayed while secretly believing that nothing is going to change? Grief can make us expect death where God is preparing resurrection. When Mary arrives, she's shaken by what she sees and what she doesn't see. The stone had been moved away. The soldiers had ran off scared, and the body, well, it seemed to be missing. There she was, ready to anoint it. And she didn't know what to do. She doesn't go in. Her thoughts are jumbled up in a swirl of confusion and fear, and her heart aches all over again. She runs back to the disciples, desperate for answers, in pain, in confusion. She just feels more lost. How would you have felt if you were Maggie? Or would you have reacted differently? Most of us wouldn't, because grief narrows our vision to the point where we can't see what's right in front of us. Maggie can barely process what she just saw, much less who she didn't even see. Her pain blinds her to any other possibility. Her loss becomes her only truth. And in our grief, we forget the promises spoken over our lives. We have a hard time seeing what could be right in front of us. We have a hard time believing a miracle could be forming. Grief narrows our vision. Where has your grief narrowed your vision? Where have you assumed God is absent simply because you can't see what He is doing? Sometimes the miracle is already in motion. We're just too overwhelmed to recognize it. And after Peter and John run ahead, after they look inside and after they leave confusion, Maggie stays outside the tomb, crying still, agonizing the situation, because in her mind, like she told the disciples, her teacher was gone and they don't know where he's been placed. And she possibly felt just like she was melting right into the tomb itself with her agony and pain. As she cries, she finally dares to gather enough courage to look inside. She most likely didn't even recognize those two angels that sat on either side of the stone where Jesus had laid. In her mind, the supernatural with the grief, that supernatural thoughts, well, they just look ordinary through the eyes of a grieving heart. They ask her, "Woman, why are you crying?" And all that she can do, and her thought went right back to that circling endlessly in her mind, the same thing that she had told the disciples. They have taken my Lord away, and I do not know where they have put him. She turns away and sees someone standing there. She doesn't really notice who it is. She assumes it's just the gardener. He asked her the same question the angels asked. Woman, why are you crying? Almost as if to say, why are you grieving when I am right here? But she doesn't recognize him. Grief can make even the glory and the miracles look ordinary. She answers again with the same turbulent thought that had been circling and will not leave her mind. With that same ache and that same emptiness and that same cloud of pain. Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him. For Mary, the only way out of her intense pain and grief, and the only way out of the grave that she had felt her heart had already fallen into, was the fragile hope she had placed on seeing a crucified Jesus. Not realizing that the living Jesus was already coming to meet her in her grief. He doesn't wait for her to remember the Lazarus miracle. He doesn't even wait for her to understand what is happening. He doesn't even try to explain it to her. He doesn't even wait for her to stop crying. He just simply calls her name. Mary. And suddenly that voice she knows, that voice she recognizes, that voice had delivered her. That voice had restored her. Everything in her shifts. Her tears don't stop immediately. Her questions don't disappear. Her circumstances haven't really changed, but that voice fills her hollow heart. It settles her mind. It brings her back to life. It takes away the cloud of darkness. Victory wasn't something she had to create. Victory was standing right in front of her. Victory is Jesus conquering death. Victory is recognizing who he is. Victory is stepping into the living miracle, calling your name. And in that moment that Jesus called her name, Maggie stepped into victory once again. The greatest miracle in history, her heart, soul, and mind come back into alignment with Jesus. And she moves from grieving to living. Because in our grief, we often fail to recognize the miracles until Jesus calls us by name. And when he does, his victory over death becomes our victory in life. It becomes the heartbeat of our hearts, the oxygen in our lives. We become alive because he is alive. Victory wasn't something she had to create. Victory was standing right in front of her. Victory has a name, and his name is Jesus. What part of your heart feels buried? What pain has made you unable to recognize the miracle standing right in front of you? The moment that Jesus called her name, Maggie falls, and she felt that love of grace, the comfort, the mercy, and the strength that only the presence of Jesus can supply. He called her out of the tomb her heart and mind had fallen into. He gave her victory over the anguish that had darkened her vision and her mind. Mary didn't run back to the disciples out of grief when Jesus asked her to. No, she didn't run back to the disciples out of loss or confusion. She ran back because she had encountered victory. She had come face to face with the one who conquers death. She had experienced victory, light breaking through her mind and through her darkness, the living Jesus had given her a way out of her pain that had entombed her. She wasn't just a witness to his victory. She had stepped into her own victory. She had come looking for a crucified Jesus, but she ran back carrying the message of the living Jesus, the one who met her in her grief and called her by her name to victory. And as she runs back to the disciples, her whole entire demeanor changed. Her steps, her voice were all different. Her purpose was different, for she was running with joy and victory in her steps. For she had heard and seen the Lord, her teacher, victorious. Now she carried that message back to them. They needed to know that there is victory over darkness, that despair, grief, nor death cannot win. Only Jesus. Victory is not the absence of grief. Victory is Jesus standing in the middle of our grief, calling us by name, so we can see the miracle that he has before us. Maggie didn't find victory. Victory found her. And the same is true for us. Grief brought Maggie to the tomb, but the moment that he spoke her name, that moment filled her empty heart. And it awakened her soul. And her sorrow shifted into recognition of who Jesus is. And Jesus' voice brought her back to life, back to himself. And today you can encounter that victory over darkness as well. If you feel grief, if you feel pain, if you're in anguish, you will feel like you have fallen into the tomb. But I have news. If you feel the emptiness inside your heart, I have news. If you feel that all is lost and there is no hope, I have news. Because Jesus is calling your name. He's calling you out of that darkness. He's calling you out of that fear, that pain, that emptiness. And you're no longer lost. He's calling you out of that tomb, calling you out of your pain into the heart full of victory. He stands before you, inviting you into his light, the light of his victory. Become victorious. Hear his voice. Listen for his voice. Step out of that darkness and take his hand into your victory. Join the living Jesus experiencing a victorious life. I am so glad that I got to share this with you. And I pray that you hear him calling your name and experience becoming victorious today. Dios les bendiga. Until next time.